2-0. 2-color aggro against 2-color aggro.
It's really funny. Looking at how the draft played out, I would not think that Toru Saito would be positioned well, but he's managed to come up with a 2-0 already, and now facing down Tristan Wylde-LaRue. I actually like Toru Saito's position here against Tristan's deck as well. He's green-white. His creatures will outclass Tristan's on average, and the particular set of non-creature cards that Toru has match up very well also. He has ways to gain life through multiple creatures and also spells in his deck, which will come in handy as well against the onslaught that Tristan is trying to throw at him. And he has a couple copies of Tail Swipe, and that's the kind of card that you can go creature, still have 1 mana left up, Tail Swipe your best creature on the other side and get in for a big attack. And those are the types of things that swing creature matchups like this. By the way, both players playing Phyrexian Missionary, neither of them with a primary color on the splash, but they actually both do have access to mana that could kick it.
Yeah. I mean, the great part about Missionary is it doesn't need any other lines of text. Even if it didn't have lifelink, it would be a good card. But just 2 mana, 2/3 lifelink body is a welcome addition in any deck.
That's right. And you see the Mesa Cavalier come down again. Little sources of life gain here and there for Toru Saito, and those are going to come in handy over the course of this game. He also has a better top end in many ways than Tristan Wylde-LaRue, mainly just because his creatures are just a bit bigger.
Tristan trying to maybe represent some kind of a combat trick, but happy to also just gain some life here. But as you mentioned here, I mean, if you take a look at the board, both players with very similar starts here, but then Toru being able to run out that Sentry next turn, and then if Tristan decides to play that Phalanx, well, you're going to see that Tail Swipe grow the Sentry into a 5/5 and get the Phalanx off the battlefield.
That's right, and you know, these sequences that we're going to be seeing here, the Tail Swipes with Magna God Sentry, is something that's going to happen often, I think, in this matchup. Decision point here for Saito. He has to decide if he would like to trade off Phyrexian Missionary for the now 4/2 Cavalier. Generally speaking, not advisable to do so, as that Missionary with lifelink can pick up +1/+1 counters, pump spells, and swing a damage race in your favor.
Great turn here for Tristan, however, going Cavalier into a 1 mana Phalanx here. So was it really important for Toru to kind of keep up with that, and having a play here is very nice, right? You get to go Bog Badger into Tail Swipe onto the Phalanx.
This is some good clean magic here. Double back-to-back turns for both players here with double spells. I mean, This is it. They are just dumping their hands onto the battlefield. This curve out from Tristan has been fantastic. He's been able to put together really nice curve outs for the duration today, but you see Tail Swipe really pulling its weight here off the Magna God Sentry. That kills a 4/4 and leaves behind the Sentry. Bog Badger is going to hit as well, and so far Tristan has not found any of his ways to get through his library. He's just kind of been on the curve out plan. This is the last turn where that's viable. Next turn we'll have to see. Currently though, shields are up here for Saito.
Shields are up. However, I mean, this Keldon Strike team, again, Tristan doesn't have a way to pump his entire team. Not going to be able to not going to be able to get in with the strike teams. Only has clean attacks with the 2 Cavaliers that he has in play. And then now Saito just has to make a decision. Do I want to trade my Missionary and Bog Badger to get these Cavaliers off the battlefield? Because if I do, then all of a sudden this Sentry is in play to keep the other creatures at bay.
Yeah, top of the library for Toru Saito is going to be so important coming up here, and it looks like he's decided he needs to just start trading off his creatures. There's a few cards that he could find that could really swing this back in his direction, a card like Strength of the Coalition, for example. But if he's going to make trades like this, then that'll make that type of top deck a bit worse.
Right. And if you're on Tristan's side, I mean, just destroy evil, right? Find some way to get that Sentry off the battlefield, and then the coast is clear.
You can send in with a lot of damage, but as it stands, both players are out of gas. Let's see what it's off the top. It's a land for Saito. That is going to pump the brakes on everything but an attack with Mesa Cavalier. And if you take a look at Tristan's hand, he's just on 2 lands. Can he find something not bad? Yep. Coalition Warbrute. That's not going to change things this turn, but that's about one of the best cards he could draw here.
And that is the nice thing about the enlist mechanic, right? Because we talked about creature sizings in general, right? Selesnya against Boros, green-white against red-white. Usually the green-white decks kind of have that advantage because the creatures are bigger. However, because you have Cavalier, triple Coalition Warbrute, you have the ability to just attack through these big creatures that often would have gotten in your way before.
That's right. So far, both of those Argivian Cavaliers have traded off and left behind a token.
Right.
And we'll see the Coalition Warbrute hit the battlefield here for Tristan Wylde-LaRue. As he continues to pile on the pressure, Saito really does need to start finding some action pretty quickly here. If he draws a land here, he did. You know, you got to feel like next turn he's got to hit something, or it may be too late.
This is rough. And one note, though, now Saito does have 7 mana. Right, he's got the land in hand. He has a one of the best cards in the format. He's got Herd Migration in his deck. Now he is playing mostly a 2-color deck, but as you can see, there is a blue land in play. He also has another land that allows him to get kind of extra tokens into play. So if he does draw Herd Migration, boom, that's 3 3/3s on the battlefield. That'll certainly do a great job of just kind of stopping what Tristan's trying to do.
Yeah, he has a Sunlit Marsh and a Haunted Mire to fill in black.
Right.
And we may be getting to the point that he needs to start seeing things like that to get back in this, because he can trade off his Magnagoth Sentry here for the Warbrute, but his shields will be well and truly down. And yeah, he's just going to have to take the 6 here. Ouch.
Right, because if this trades, then all of a sudden, all of Tristan's creatures can attack next
turn. The floodgates open. Let's see what happens for Saito here off the top of the library.
Oh!
Herd Migration. Bingo, baby. That's the one he needed to see. Wow. You saw him bounce back in his seat at that as well.
Jeez.
That's a game changer. He now gets 3 3/3s.
And he can still keep attacking with the Cavalier.
That thing has done 8 damage this game. And there it is. Herd Migration off the top. So now he's got 9 power, 9 toughness over 3 bodies. Hey, there's a Molten Monstrosity. That'll help as well. So one good top deck deserves another, though you got to be happy if you're in Saito's seat, as he's mostly stabilized at this point.
Right, because what can Tristan do now? You can attack with the Warbrute, get in for 6 if you enlist the strike team. If Toru chooses to just double block with the Sentry and a 3/3, doesn't take any trample damage, right? And you're just trading the Warbrute for the 4/4. This was a big draw for Tristan, though, right? Just an additional giant trample creature in play. And again, Tristan does have Devastator off the top.
Yes.
Right? Double Destroy Evil. Both of those cards would be fantastic top deck. Oh my
and
goodness.
There's the strength of the Coalition right off the top as well. What a draw step.
Runner, best possible draw here for Toru Saito.
Incredible. So now he just turned his 9 power and 9 toughness off of that last draw into 4, 8, 12, and then add a few to the extras as well. Incredible.
So this is going to give him 3 extra points of damage and 5 +1/+1 counters.
What a rip here for Saito. After having found back-to-back lands, he now all of a sudden finds himself in a position.
I wonder if Saito's going, can I attack with more things? Probably not, because none of the creatures he has in play has trample. I think he can just continue to chip away. The question is, do you just fire off the strength to get in 5, right? If you're likely to cast strength anyways, or try to blow Tristan out and just get him to overextend next turn?
He is definitely considering attack. I mean, it is good. Like, there's not a whole lot that can go wrong. It is somewhat difficult for him to die on the crackback. The problem, I think, here is open deck lists mean that Tristan is going to say, oh, okay, I figured out what it is you have. And he actually can set up a block scenario where he can crack back for lethal and not take lethal on the attack, even with Strength of the Coalition. That being said, Strength of the Coalition is going to be amazing here, even just defensively.
Yeah, I mean, it might
like
be
he gets to eat the monstrosity and whatever else comes in.
It might be tough to just even play around it. But I mean, again, since Tristan doesn't have anything, he doesn't even have great attacks, right? Monstrosity attacks, you just block with 2 3/3s.
That's right. Just he trades it off for a token. Okay, there's a land off the top, so finally Toru Saito can cool his jets just a little bit on the top decks. Out of the last 4, he's had the 2 best possibles and then 2 lands.
So now I think Toru's going to maybe try to do some math here. You got to think about how many turns it's going to take to kill Tristan with this Cavalier, right? Because you're missing out on 1 extra point of damage every turn you don't cast Strength of the Coalition.
That's true.
Right? So if you attack for 2 this turn, next turn you cast Strength of the Coalition, that's 5, and then that's 3. So that's still 10 damage, so it doesn't need to fire off the strength just yet.
That's right, so he's gonna go ahead and hold up. A Coalition Warbrute normally would be a fine rip here, but Tristan is actually under legitimate pressure from the Mesa Cavalier. It has done, by the way, all of the damage from Saito's side. It's responsible for 12 right now, and it might go the entire distance.
Oh, what? Not even enlisting the monstrosity here.
Oh, he's left it back for Magnagoth Sentry blocking duty. But when you're putting trample damage on and your opponent's at 12, you really do want to try to get as much as you can through.
No, you know, I don't think Toru can be too scared, right? Just because, like, even if Tristan has a Destroy Evil, you still have Strength of the Coalition, right? You go for the double block here. If the 4/4 dies, you can still pump the 3/3.
Yep.
At least give it an extra counter to trade with this Warbrute. But we know Tristan has nothing, so this is just a completely safe block here.
Yeah, just to trade Magnagoth Sentry for the Coalition Warbrute. And no damage, importantly, coming in from Saito. That's why that extra 3/3s joining the team.
And now if Tristan decides to order it where he does all the damage to the Sentry, right, you can strengthen the Coalition, kick it, and all of a sudden your Sentry's a 7/7.
Yep. And that may be worth it just on its own.
Right, because you just don't lose anything.
Let's see what Saito does here. He just says, okay, fine. He takes no damage and just trades off 1 for 1. There is a replacement Warbrute on the way.
I think you're very tempted to go for a strength here, right? Because this puts Tristan on a 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
Right? So attack with the Cavalier, get in for 5, then get in for 3, and just make sure you don't die on the crackback. So just have to do some math here. Now keep in mind, Tristan does have a lifelinker in play.
Yes.
Right? So that changes the math around a little bit too. So if Toru goes for the aggressive Strength of the Coalition, attack you for 5 and 3 next turn, Tristan can at least survive for an extra turn by attacking with the Missionary.
But if he doesn't, it costs him an extra turn, right?
Right.
Like if he just gets in for 2, he's got to try to get in for 6 next turn. And let's not forget that Tristan has a very impressive board state here, and down to 12 is Saito. He does have to be worried. It's not like, you know, he does have 3 3/3s. They're holding down the fort quite well, but like if one of those goes away, there could be, you know, the old right-click attack here from Tristan Wylde-LaRue, and that could make Toru's life very difficult. And it looks like he's decided to try to slam the door here, but Tristan has some ways out, no doubt about it.
Right, and again, that Missionary. Tristan will attack with that Missionary because he knows that Cavalier is a lethal attack. Toru had great back-to-back draws and then 2 lands in a row after that.
That's right. Wow, this is a super close game here to round out pod number 1. And it's a Sprouting Goblin. That is not going to affect things meaningfully this turn, though. If Tristan, so he attacks with the Missionary, he goes up to 5 no matter what happens to it. He gets the Goblin down. He'll get 2 rips next turn to try to find something to either kill Saito or kill the Cavalier. He could do it.
Yeah, the question is, does he just attack with this to stay alive, or does he want to get some trades out of the way here on top of that?
You know, I think with 4 1/1s, you do want to get trades out of the way. Like anytime you can whittle those down to make it so that they may actually have a chance to attack, you probably do it.
Because if you give it 8 power by enlisting the Monstrosity, right? You can't just double block and only lose 1 creature, right? That's 8 power. Both of the 4/4s would die. Now Tristan again needs to just find the flyer, right? The flyer to get the Cavalier off the battlefield. He can play draw his own Devastator.
Yes.
But Destroy Evil doesn't kill the Cavalier.
That's true. Devastator could be interesting also in the sense that there may be an opening for him to win. Yeah, exactly. Because that Warbrute is getting in for 4 damage here, down to 8.
Does Toru have a pump spell here? A Gaia's Might?
Oh, that would be
something
really
like that
nice
to just close the door here.
He could just find a way to win on the spot, and that would be the easiest way for Saito. Can he do it with no sweat? Prayer of Binding is a very nice draw. Effectively puts him to 10 life and takes out a blocker or an attacker.
Destroy target Molten Monstrosity, gain 2 life.
Yeah, that's about as good as you're going to get at this point. The interesting thing to me is the Sprouting Goblin at this point, because if I'm Saito, yeah, I'm happy to try to stem the bleeding and make sure I don't lose, but if that Mesa Cavalier dies, he's in real trouble.
Yeah, and now, I mean, the Devastator is not even an out here, right? You can't draw that and have that be the card that prevents the Mesa Cavalier from getting in for lethal.
Looks like Sprouting Goblin needs to go to work here.
Yeah, need to find something here.
Some way to kill a Cavalier.
That's not it.
Yeah, his outs were severely diminished here. You know, he has really prioritized curving out. He does have a Lightning Strike in his deck.
Okay.
That would have done it. That also might have been lethal.
There's a Prayer of Binding, so unlikely. But But I mean, the fact that Toru drew the Prayer Binding really limited what Tristan could find there.
Absolutely. Wow, what a close game. Game number 1 in the books here. Toru Saito picks up the game over Tristan Wylde-LaRue. Again, I like the matchup for Saito. You know, there's like a kind of a heuristic that you can use for really all of Magic, but particularly Limited, which is that if you have 2 decks that are similar and one is slightly slower or slightly bigger than the other, that one's usually favored. You know,
right.
you're not going to fall so far behind that you get ran over very often, and you're playing 4/4s and they're playing 3/4s, and you're playing 5/5s and they're playing 4/4s, and you'll be able to generate some type of advantage from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how kind of Limited will balance itself out, right? You have the super aggressive decks to punish the very slow decks. Right? But then, you know, the super aggressive decks will lose to the slightly less aggressive decks with bigger creatures, which then lose to the slower control deck. So it's kind of a little bit of rock, paper, scissors thing going on. But I just think Toru Saito's deck, on top of that, is just fantastic.
I think it's just solid, right?
You have the tail swipes, which is really great. Your creatures are similarly sized, right?
Yeah.
You just cast it on your turn. That allows you to double spell and beat down. And the one card, one of the main reasons to play green-white is Strength of the Coalition. That is one of, if not the best combat tricks in the format, right? And that means, you know, while Selesnya aggro is not a commonly played archetype in this format, you know, you get that. It's open. We saw the draft, right? We had a blue-black and a blue-red player next to him. You know, basically he just read the signals and was like, you know what? If all of you are just going to continue to give me all these green-white cards, I'm just going to take it and beat you all down.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of matchups in the format that Saito would not be happy to sit across from. A blue-black base deck, for example, can kind of wreak havoc with these, you know, kind of big, dumb creature. You're like, Magna God Sentry. They're like, cool, bounce it, gain 3, and then in a few turns I'll kill it. And it can, and the tail swipes tend to underperform against those type of decks as well, where they're playing primarily removal rather than blockers. But boy, if you get yourself into a creature-on-creature fight, which is exactly what we have here, that's exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, Herd Migration, just MVP'd that one up real hard.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent card.
Because that drop from Tristan was totally fine. Like he even when he lost, he had quite an impressive board. That was a very quick mulligan there from Tristan Wylde-LaRue. He did not like what he saw to kick things off. But game number 2 now underway. This is the final round for our main pod here. So this is, remember, 8 players, 3 rounds. There's only one player that gets to escape with a 3-0 from each pod, and we're going to decide it right here.
And what a start here if you look at Toru Saito's hand. I mean, you've got the Herd Migration. You've got Weather Seed Treaty here, turn 3. I'm not sure if he has an extra basic here to fetch, which would be a little bit of extra value, but man, I mean, this is just a fantastic start. But I mean, if you're on Tristan's side, he's got it all too, right? 2-drop into Cavalier. You can see Toru actually sideboarding in a Barkweave Crusher here, just because, look, normally not the best creature, but here, where everybody just has a bunch of small creatures, 2/5 might be the right sizing.
Yeah, and he can get any land with a basic type here off of the Weather Seed Treaty as well. So yeah, he's in great shape. He actually has 3 options, and it looks like he's just going to get a Swamp. But this is awesome for him. He's already ramped. Next turn, he gets to make a 1/1, and then he gets to start really slamming. And it looks like we've got a full-on race on our hands here. That Sunbathing Root Wall is going to be capable of a lot of damage. But I'll tell you right here, Paul, Phyrexian Missionary, that's a nice one here for Tristan, and a great double spell opportunity as well.
Tail Swipe, great draw here from Toru Saito.
These double spell turns with Tail Swipe are just devastating.
Because now, I mean, you have access to 2 green mana. You can just go Crusher into Tail Swipe and get the Cavalier off the battlefield. That's probably the most threatening creature in play, right? Because without the Cavalier, none of the other creatures can even attack.
Such to the point that Sunbathing Root Wall is going to jam here.
I'm not afraid.
Really interesting to see if Tristan just says, sure.
Right.
Because, like, if he blocks with the Missionary, like, is Saito really excited here to go, okay, spend 4 to kill your Missionary and leave myself with a 1/1?
Right. That's,
like,
yeah.
This might be a spot where you say, you know what? That's a tempo hit that I'm willing to pay.
Like, block with Missionary, force the pump.
Yeah. He decides not to.
It wouldn't have been great because Toru Saito has the Gaia's Might.
That's right. But I'm just putting myself in Tristan's seat,
course,
you know, and I'm like,
yeah.
huh. I would be at least considering the option. Oh, wow, stall for time here.
Oh, beat downs.
This is a huge amount of damage coming across. Like, not quite lethal, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, but it may be difficult for Saito to come back even with the powerful hand that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, Toru likely will just have to try to stem the bleeding here, go for the tail swipe, at least get this Cavalier off the battlefield, or one of the other 2 power creatures that are in play.
This is rough stuff here.
Don't think we're going to see the root wall attack next turn.
Look, he drew the island off of the... It always shows that one turn too late here for Tristan. But at any rate, here's Weatherseed Treaty, and he will be able to get in for a nice hit if he can afford to.
Perhaps the 1/1, right?
Just crunch for 4. He may just need to say, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
we'll just leave that guy
do I
at
really
home.
want to get in for 4? I'm at 6, they're at 20. I've got a herd migration in my hand.
Yeah.
All I need to draw is 1 more land to put 3 3/3s in play.
Right. Saito is heavily incentivized to sit back and try to make this game go longer at 6 life, facing down a fairly well-built board. But this was kind of it for Tristan. He's got a land left, and he said, this is what I have.
He's got a second stall for time.
Somewhere.
On top, maybe?
Looks like Saito cannot turn down the opportunity
the value.
for 4 damage
the value.
versus keeping back a 1/1. But he is in a reasonable situation here with another Sunbathing Root Walla. He does have the pump ability left and a Gaia's Might. He has to choose one or the other here. But this is a hold moment. And we're going to see Goblin Picker try to find some way to get action. Oh, and it's stalled for time. He still can't kick it, but whatever. So this may clear the way for lethal.
So let's see. You tap 2 things, attack with everything.
2, 4, 5.
5 damage gets through.
So
1
close.
short. 1 short. So here you can get in for 6.
Yes.
Right? And then that'll likely just force a trade with one of the root wallas.
Also worth noting that herd migration gains you life. It could change the way this game goes, but I'll tell you, if Saito does that, it's desperation.
It gains you life. I didn't realize that was an option at this point, but yes, it does do that.
Paul's never even read that far. He's just like, give me my 3/3s, please.
It just reads 7 mana, make 5/5/5. My 5 3/3s to me.
Agree. Saito would need an untapped land here to be able to cast it. Take up the shield is really nice, though I will say stall for time is done really well. We could see the combo, though, Paul, of Gaia's Might plus take up the shield on whatever's left over, and that is a race-swinging play.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, even if Tristan goes for stall for time, which is great, oh, well, if you attack here, then it's just over, right?
Well, unless Saito gets really aggressive and goes take up the shield.
Just as a life swinging measure.
Right.
Just
and then
pump pump and then take up the shield, sure.
Right. And I mean, that would be a huge swing.
That would be a 6-point life swing. Or he would gain 6, go up to 12.
Yeah, he unfortunately cannot take up the shield, pump, and also herd migration or Gaia's Might. Right. So it's a little tough. One play he could do that's incredibly inefficient is he could Gaia's Might plus... He could do all 3, but take herd migration off the table.
I just don't think that puts you in a winning position.
I don't think so either. I think all it means is that you lose a little bit later.
Right. So Toru here just going for the gain 6 life, which means even if Tristan finds a way to tap down both of these creatures, only getting in for 9.
Are giving Cavaliers a fine draw as well. He
Still
can
gonna do it though.
Kick this stall
Still gonna
for
do
time.
it. Oh, lightning strike!
Oh, he found lightning
strikes. Toru's gonna go down to 3, and then lightning strike's gonna do it unless Toru can find another way to gain life. He does have that herd migration in hand.
Yeah, he's already got it.
But if he draws a land, you know he's gonna slam it.
He's slamming if he draws a land. He does not want to. Oh, this is absolutely perfect actually, because he can do all the things.
So let's see, he goes Bog Badger, and that's still a lethal attack, however, right? Because if Tristan attacks with everything, you block the 4/4 and the 2/3, you take 3, forces Toru to cycle the herd migration, that puts you to 6. You take 3, and then lightning strike, that's it.
You're right. Wow, every single point of damage mattering here. And Tristan Wylde-LaRue's signature stall for time coming up clutch here.
Huge.
And the splashed island coming up very found the lightning strike off of it. I mean, what is going on?
Yeah, and we are going, if Tristan attacks with everything, we're gonna see a game 3 here.
Yeah, the question is, are there things that Tristan Wylde-LaRue would like to play around, right? Things that maybe he's like,
So it would have to be cards that can gain you life or kill things, right?
Okay, he's just gonna go upstairs because this is gonna reveal everything.
Right.
There's not gonna be a, wow.
Right. There's no point to cycle it because if you do, I mean, you're just gonna have 1 mana up. I guess you could still represent Tail Swipe, but I think when you go Lightning Strike your face, you're gonna attack with all the creatures if they gain the life.
Yeah, I think I would make them, but
right. Yeah,
I'm with you though. At any rate, that is game number 2, about as close as they get, going to Tristan Wylde-LaRue to even things up at 1 game apiece. Both players are 2-0 in this draft, and now they're 1 game away from that 3-0 start. This is the only limited portion that we have for the tournament. So man, if you can come away just going like, I 3-0'd limited, that's the part that you can prepare as much as you want, but you're still opening booster packs, right? You have some level of not control there, where all the rest is explore and standard, where you can put in as much effort as you want. You got to feel amazing coming out. Plus, I mean, look at last year, right? Like, come away 3-0, you're like already the world champion, right?
Or 0-3.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can win it when you're 0-3, if you're 3-0, it's like hand them the trophy. It's worth noting here, though, we have 32 players in this World Championship, and that means that there's going to be 4 players coming out of these first 3 rounds with the 3-0 record. So maybe we shouldn't hand out the trophy just yet.
Right. So few more rounds this time around. Now Toru Saito gets to be on the play this time around. Very, very important in this matchup.
That was also a mulligan last time from Tristan.
Yeah,
it's worth noting. His deck has been really sweet.
Yeah, Tristan's deck has been firing. And wow, there's a Weather Sea Treaty, but Toru, this could be a quick match if he can't find land number 3.
Yeah, land number 3 next turn opens up this to be the ball in his court, and if he misses it, he could fall way too far behind way too quickly.
Oh!
Wow, and he finds a 4-ball here, a pair of forests, and this could fall apart very quickly. Tristan, he doesn't know that he's missing the land, but now he sees it. Can he apply pressure fast enough?
Tristan's hand is fantastic.
So far, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 4-drop coming up. Is this a land?
Land. Oh.
GG.
I mean, at this point, even if you do find a land, it's going to be pretty tough. Now, he does have Take Up the Shield to help racing situations. There is a Prayer of Binding. Perhaps he can find a way, but Tristan just found another Warbrute here.
So Saito's going to have to trade off one of his creatures, but it's going to be 12 mana of Warbrutes minimum over the next 3 turns. Is this a land? Come on. Yes,
okay.
There's it's a forest, though.
There's a forest, but now you can go fetch a plains, but you're going to take 6, go down to 10. You can use a prayer on one of the Warbrutes, but there's just 2 more to follow those up. So he's going to take 6 again, but he's going to go to 12.
How can he come back from this?
He's got a very powerful 7-mana sorcery in his deck. If he can somehow survive and
so he needs to draw both 2 more lands and that?
And, well, another thing here is if Toru finds land number 6 next turn, if you go Magnagoth Sentry into Take Up the Shield, I think that's a line that you can legitimately come back from.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Does he just need to play Prayer of Binding this turn? Oh, he's taking so much damage no matter what. Okay,
yeah,
Tristan,
like he is.
There's a little bit of a reprieve here as Tristan is finally running out of gas. He's got that last Coalition Warbrute, but nothing else in hand.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
So we're going to see, let's see, the Warbrute. I mean, we're just going to see the Tramplers attack in here, right?
I think so.
Now, he does have to be mindful of some of the combat tricks that Toru could have. Strength of the Coalition would give +3/+3 to the 1/1. Gaia's Might, also +3/+3.
Okay, enlist, 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 everything in there. So this is 9 power coming across, and we're going to see Prayer of Binding soak up 5 of it. That's going to leave Toru at 6.
And then 8.
And then,
take
right,
4, yeah.
back down to 8 after the 2, of course. So,
okay, and then, but this is another War Brute.
This is just scripted here for Tristan. He doesn't have, he hasn't had another choice in 3 turns, but a land would be amazing for Saito.
Toru wants a land.
It's been a story of his whole entire game, and it's tail
that's
swipe,
also great.
And that's great because remember, he gets 4/4 here at least for the turn.
Oh, are we gonna go take up the shield and tail swipe? Although if you do that, you can't play a creature this turn, right? You're 1 mana short from running out that Cavalier.
So it would be take up the shield would basically just be to gain the life.
To gain the life.
It would leave him with a 2/2 rather than a 1/1.
He's at 8 life. I mean, if you just go tail swipe Sentry, what's the worst that could happen, right? I guess you can get your creature destroy eviled and then take 6 and go down to 2 if you attack with this 4/4 this turn. Or I guess you could even potentially attack for 5 if you tail swipe the token here.
So that's the question, right? So if you go take up the shield, it's a 5/5 with lifelink. You tail swipe, you gain 5. You attack, you gain 5, right?
Gain 6.
6.
Right. Okay.
I think that's what he's going to. Well, so he would have wanted to do it the other order.
Yeah. Wait. I think you wanted to do this before attacks, right? You would have gained an extra life.
It gets you an extra life.
Yeah. Okay. So likely a small misstep here, but I mean now Toru's at 19.
He's at 19.
He's at 19 life, and look at his hand.
He was
it
at
is
6
loaded
last turn. Now he does have to give some of that back right here in the form of 6 damage, but a lightning strike actually not amazing here for Tristan, at least at the moment.
Might need to chain some stall for times here if you're on Tristan's side.
Yeah, those would be really good. And it looks like a double spell turn here.
2-drop, 3-drop.
Right. The Mesa Cavalier can buff that life total a little more. He could put more power and toughness out with the Bog Badger if he'd prefer. Something's dying here to a lightning strike, probably during combat on Tristan's turn.
Yeah, Tristan will still get 1 okay attack here.
Okay.
Okay.
Molten Monstrosity off the top of the library, very castable right now for Tristan. That probably is one of his best draw steps.
Yeah, it's that and Devastator.
Yes. But look at Saito. He's got a 4/4, a 3/3, and a 4/4 in hand. I mean, it's just a wall of power and toughness coming down, particularly if he can manage to play that, like one of them plus the Argivian Phalanx next turn.
Yeah, and I think Tristan wants to put pressure so that potentially doesn't happen here, right? Attack here, lightning strike one of the creatures, potentially.
Okay, there's the Molten Monstrosity.
Right.
And is he going to be proactive? No, he's going to hang on to Lightning Strike.
So if there's a land here, you can go Sentry into Phalanx.
Yes.
So big turn here from Toru. And I wonder if Toru's considering attacking with the Root Wall because it's not going to block, but if that happens, that's a huge blowout, right? Because of the Lightning Strike.
That's right. So he decides just to stay home here, but he puts out an additional 8 power and 8 toughness. He's going to chip in with the Cavalier down to
Stall
13.
for time.
That would be very good here. Let's see what he finds. Another Molten Monstrosity. But again, in the power and toughness fight, these are just okay. I mean, 4/4s are very good at blocking monstrosities. How many colors does Saito have now? 1, 2, 3?
He's got 3, so if he draws a Herd Migration, that's 3 3/3s.
Yeah, and I was looking at the Root Wallet. It can trade off for a monstrosity also. So, you know, just power and toughness, I don't think is going to quite get the job done here for Tristan unless he finds a way to either remove or temporarily tap down some of these creatures. If he does, I think the floodgates will be open and he'll win.
Right. Now, Toru deciding, if you double block the monstrosity, if Tristan has a Destroy Evil, that is just a disaster. But it looks like Toru's just blocking here, just hoping you don't have anything. Now, with these blocks, Tristan can Lightning Strike the 2/2.
Yes.
Right, and then the monstrosity just gets to gobble up the Phalanx and deal an extra point of trample damage here to Toru Saito. This plays around no combat tricks.
So this block
this,
has
however,
him taking a damage.
Now this is a triple block now on the Monstrosity.
Yes. So he takes 1 from the War Brute this way, but it does mean that a Lightning Strike doesn't get the job done.
Right.
Funny, but Destroy Evil would be an absolute
Destroy Evil, yeah,
beating here, but he doesn't have it.
Toru's choosing to play around some stuff, but not all the things, basically.
Toru's choosing chaos this morning because that was about the highest risk he could do, but he recognized he needed it. Linebreaker Baloth, okay. Again, more power and toughness.
Another big creature here.
That's what we see over and over again here for Saito is he just keeps on putting 4/4s, now a 4/5, and he still has a 3/3 Bog Badger there too. And he has successfully chewed through almost everything. It's just that one monstrosity that's a real kind of threat that's left over.
All right.
So he still wants to play the Baloth. You know, if he has another land, there's something to be said for Badger to leave up Rootwalla activation, but
right.
It looks like he's decided.
So now if you're Tristan, you got removal spells, you got the Devastator, you got Stall for Time, all kinds of cards that can get you out of this. Now, and if it comes to a situation where Tristan now needs to play defensively, he's got the Picker, and maybe he's going to try to keep his creatures back so that he can find those spells to get him back. Although a Monstrosity attack can't be too bad. Toru can triple block, right? And then your Monstrosity would kill the Baloth, and then you would get the Rootwalla. You could Lightning Strike the Rootwalla, which if you wanted to.
This is a good window to do so.
Right.
There's only the 1 mana up for Saito, only 1 card in hand. And like you said, the Picker can start doing things. He's kept that Plains in his hand.
Or if the thing is, you know, you're going to be trading Monstrosity for a Baloth anyways, maybe you just wait and try to draw Stall for Time, right? And just build up a board and then tap down the opposition's 2 biggest creatures.
Yeah, the only downside is this Cavalier is starting to pile on some damage, but you got time.
Yeah. It's like
he's thinking about using the window to take out the Rootwalla, but he said no. Okay, Idyllic Beat French off the top.
Setting up for the the herd migration here.
You hear some hoof steps in the distance here, Paul, because I'll tell you, one of those off the top for Saito would be all she wrote. That would be 4 of them. I don't think he can make red. That's the only color he doesn't have. Interesting with the Bog Badger as well. You know, kicking a Bog Badger is a way to steal a game. It doesn't happen very often, but you can put your opponent in a very awkward position by giving your team menace. The Linebreaker Baloth also is not blockable by anything except for the Molten Monstrosity, so it would make it unblockable for the turn. And, you know, Tristan's down to 11. So Saito could steal it.
But so Toru doesn't have mana to pump the Rootwalla and kick the Badger, right? Because that would be lots and lots of damage. However, you can still get in for 9, right? If you did kick the Badger, and if you did want to enlist. But I mean, I don't think he's in a position to do that.
It is risky. I mean, it is tempting because if you get in for 9 and then the Cavalier's lethal next turn, you may be able to shut the door on this game, but it's kind of also asking a lot. I think that Saito knows that Tristan has something in his hand.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
it's unblockable.
It's unblockable. We have a Lightning Strike for the Badger, an attack with everything. The 2/2 gets blocked and you take 8.
Wow, that's super
1
risky.
Damage short, but Toru putting himself in a position to potentially try to close it up because he knows Tristan has some inevitability, right?
Yes.
You've got the double Stall for Time.
Yes.
There is the Devastator. There's just so many different draws, and there's an active Picker in play.
Yeah, Goblin Picker just on itself is already something that he's probably worried about.
I wonder if Tristan's going, do I need to kill this
the Cavalier? I wonder if he's thinking that. If he can't crack back for lethal, which as we've discovered, at least currently he can't.
Now, if he Pickers into a Stall for Time, he can just go Lightning Strike to the face and then Stall for Time and attack for 8 and deal 3. So that's 11.
Boy, super close game 3. This has been a really tight match between. This is what it's all about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Creature-based matchups here, and trying to figure out what risks you're willing to take and which ones you're not.
Even a Furious Bellow. Oh, and Tristan playing defensively here, getting that Cavalier off the battlefield to make sure that Toru cannot kill Tristan next turn,
right,
potentially, off of a combat trick on the flyer.
That's right, and he figures he will lose to the flyer over the next few turns, and he can take advantage of the picker here. There's Semite Herbalist. That's not going to do much here.
I imagine we're still going to see picking here. Stall for time is not lethal. Ooh, but that was a good draw.
He can cast both of these this turn as well, unless he wants to keep one to
Does he want
get rid of.
Okay.
So just get it in for
just trade
3,
with the 2. Trade with the 2/2 here, and then you go Herbalist into Cavalier.
Yeah.
Now, if Toru can find a way to get Molten Monstrosity off the battlefield, Toru will win this match. Right? Because Linebreaker Ballast cannot be blocked except by the Monstrosity.
It's the Plains. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he needs the Baloth to hit twice.
Doesn't.
Saito's thinking.
And one other thing to note, it might be very relevant, but Toru did miss a point of damage, right? He could be at 10. He could be at 10, and Tristan could be at 4 right now.
You're right. That's the type of scenario where that Linebreaker Baloth could have been lethal. Now, as it stands, it's not getting through this turn, but oh boy.
Wow.
He could just send in with the Linebreaker Baloth and force the trade.
Yeah,
it feels like his avenue to victory, but...
So if he does that, all he has is a Root Wallet or a Badger to block,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
That gets Monstrosity off the battlefield, then you're looking at 1 blocker versus 5 creatures that can potentially get in. But Tristan needs to have a lethal attack or else he will lose on the crackback.
Exactly. And he decides not to go for it. There's Phyrexian Missionary. No black mana, though, for Tristan.
Do you loot? Do you rummage? Remember,
I mean, maybe so.
This Cavalier. No, you cannot enlist the Monstrosity because then Toru can attack back for lethal.
Yeah, then the Baloth just kills you.
But you don't have a good attack here, right? Because if you enlist the Cavalier with the Herbalist, I mean, the Baloth can eat it up. The Root Wallet at this point is what, +4/+4,
it's
right?
6/6.
It's a 6/6.
Yep.
So do you just pick? Find a stall for time?
He's going to scry first.
Interesting.
With the Cavalier, though, this will effectively throw the Cavalier away.
It will.
As Saito has numerous blocks.
Double block.
He's going to do all of the blocks.
Okay. Perhaps playing around Furious Bellow.
Sure.
Right? So that gets in for 7. You still kill it because you can pump. And if you have nothing, well, you just lose your creature for free anyways.
Right. So now he can pump up the Root Walla. And Saito's going to be very happy with this interaction. You know, that was Tristan Wylde-LaRue trying desperately to scry something great to the top. He ended up putting a mountain on the bottom. He kept the Phyrexian Missionary in hand, and there's Griffin Protector now for Saito.
So that's a flyer that can potentially chip away. Likely want to play that land in hand as well to keep the pump up on the Root Walla.
Is there an attack with Linebreaker Baloth now?
Right, because now Tristan is down a creature. You're sitting at 9. Do you want to do this trade? Because having a trampling threat while also leaving up the possibility where Tristan could draw a Destroy Evil, right? Where it's like, oh, I block, Destroy Evil, get in for trample. That's very scary.
It is. Down to 9 is Saito. And he can force the issue.
Oh, this is so close.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Tristan Wylde-LaRue pitches the Phyrexian Missionary before attacks to see if he does find stall for time.
Oh, in combat?
Right.
Right. Yeah, because if you don't cast the missionary this turn, you're likely just rummaging it away, right?
That's what I assume, yeah. Okay, so Saito's just going to attack with Sunbathing Root Walla. It is lethal.
Okay, so
likely
rummaging now? Before, okay.
Let's find out.
Right.
He's going to just chump. Now he's going to rummage. Let's see what he finds.
Toru's like, what's going on?
Yeah, he is trying to figure it out. And it is a
that's
mountain.
A whiff.
So there's the Brixky.
So that's 2 creatures that have been eaten for free now. And Toru now has the advantage here in terms of just board state.
He does. Sprouting Goblin a couple of turns ago would have been amazing. Is it too late? He's got plenty of food for it.
Needs to just find ways to kill these giant green monsters.
Okay, there's the stall for time. Is it too late for that?
So the creatures won't untap. You tap down the Bailoff and the Badger, as that represents the most amount of damage. It won't untap.
You smash for 5.
You smash for 5.
And then you've got a blocker for the Root Walla. It's hard for the Griffin Protector to get up to 6.
Toru has 2 blockers. So after this attack for 5, Toru would go down to 4, right? 4 with 2 blockers.
You know what's funny? The Herd Migration would actually pump the Griffin Protector by 4. It would be lethal.
It would.
Yeah, unless the Herbalist attacks.
A land would actually not be horrible. Yeah, but because of that herd migration line, perhaps he taps the Griffin Protector instead.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
He also could tap down the Badger and attack with the Herbalist. He would be throwing it away, though.
Oh, man.
Oh, Argivian Phalanx.
One creature short.
He is a little bit short, but still, this is huge pressure here. But here comes Molten Monstrosity. Down to 4 goes Toru Saito.
Not quite lethal, though. Saito could go down to 1. And he found a creature.
Barkweave.
Right?
Yeah, Crusher on. And this means that he's going to add a bunch of toughness. What is it, a 2/5?
Yeah, Root Walla currently can eat the Monstrosity, and then you have 2 creatures to eat the Picker and the Herbalist, go down to 3.
We are not done yet.
But if Tristan can find a Destroy Evil, the Root Walla would block the Monstrosity, wait for the pump to happen, boom, kill it, trample over for lethal.
Shivan Devastator off the top.
Stall for time.
Yeah,
so many cards here.
Lots
for
of
Tristan.
outs here for him.
Destroy
and it's
Evil!
Destroy Evil. Boom, right off the top here for Tristan Wylde-LaRue.
That's it.
And look at him. He's going over the scene here, but
just is there a world where Toru can double block the Monstrosity?
Can he double block the Monstrosity to play around Destroy Evil? That's the question. And the answer is
I think, okay, so let's see.
No.
Root Walla and the Crusher goes on the Monstrosity.
Yes.
You kill the Root Walla.
Yes.
You don't trample over. The Bog Badger eats a 2/1, and you take 3 and you go to 1.
It is down to 3, you're right.
You go to 1.
Wow.
Right? But then will Toru be able to attack back for lethal?
Also, does Saito see that? We're giving him credit for it. I think he would, but like...
Right, right.
He may not double block.
Because remember, those creatures are going to untap. I'm just assuming that Toru makes the blocks where this game continues.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the following turn. But yes, this is a huge, huge block here for Toru Saito. But I mean, if you see Tristan attack with everything, you have to think something's up,
Absolutely.
Right? Now,
so Tristan looks like he wants to lock in the Argivian Phalanx for cheap. So he's going to play that pre-combat.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan's going to look great here if he does get to kill both Root Walla and the Crusher. You have the Phalanx to block the Bailoff, right? So that's not going to be necessarily a lethal attack.
That's right.
Unless Toru top decks the Herd Migration and kills Tristan with the Griffin Protector.
Right. And again, not recommended necessarily, but the Samite Herbalist can attack and gain 1 life, which would take that play off the table.
You're correct, yes.
But he will lose the Herbalist to the Badger, most likely.
Wow, okay.
But he did make that play, and there's a bit more action on the top of the library. It's early game action in Argivian Cavalier, so it's going to go down to the bottom.
So Tristan giving Toru credit for the correct blocks.
Yes.
Right?
And let's see if that's what actually happens here.
Well, so you have to block with the Badger if you want to live here, right? You have to block with the Badger. If you don't, if you block like this and pump the Root Walla and you get Destroy Evil.
What if he doesn't pump the Root Walla? Then he takes 3, right?
Then he takes 3. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's some next level blocks. Like, I'm assuming that Saito would pump. But he can play around Destroy Evil. I mean, it is hard to imagine him winning if he's just throwing away Root Wallas and taking
Yeah, but in that
damage,
situation, you want to put the Bog Badger in front of the Monstrosity instead of the Root Walla.
Yes. Okay, a triple block and a pump? Huh. That actually would work.
Triple block and a pump
because
would
the
work, yes.
Goblin Picker and the 1/1 are not coming in right now.
Right, but then you don't get to eat the Herbalist for free. Is Toru going to pump here, or just let the Root Walla die?
If he pumps, he loses.
That's it.
If he pumps,
it's
over. He pumps, it's over.
It's
Once
over.
It resolves, that Destroy Evil can kill it. Trample damage will carry over for the full 5, and that will be Tristan Wylde-LaRue picking up the 3-0 out of the booster draft, narrowly defeating Toru Saito here in a great creature fight between these two players. Fantastic job from Tristan. Look, red-white when it's open is one of the better archetypes in the field.